Due to copyright, I can't publish many audiobooks on YouTube. At our audiobook novel service, we offer access to over 300 full novels from Pocket FM, Webnovel, Audible, Wuxia, and more, all in high-quality audio format. Each novel is available with a one-time payment only. No subscriptions, no monthly payment, and no ads. Payments via PayPal or Ko-fi. To browse the full list of available novels, message me directly on Telegram or WhatsApp, or check out our full catalog on Discord. Chapter 497. Courting Death. 4. Let's start from the beginning. When we first met, you tried to kill me, then made that mistake and became my slave. I didn't kill you, nor did I take revenge. On the contrary, I gave you my own clothes, then let you share my sleeping bag. Victor, who stood opposite Alpha in the endless darkness, stated, making an ethereal thread reach from him to her. This? You always had this power? Alpha asked as she tried hard to move but her skills failed to activate. Wait, you used me as a hug doll. That's why you let me sleep in your sleeping bag. She responded as she instinctively understood what this place was. There were a lot of spiders outside. Would you have wanted to do it on the cave's ground? Shit. She cursed as the thread materialized around her. After that, I saved your fate to become Sebastian's lover, he said, making another thread appear. Who said I had that fate? She flared. I do. You were meant to be affected by his scion aura and fall into his grasp. I saved you. You? Saved me? You used me to your advantage, taking a great opportunity from me, she quickly said. So, if you know what you do now, do you still want to be Sebastian's lover? I could have decided that on my own, but you would have lost the spark to him. Another thread materialized. After that, I gave you a home and a job, not telling my family or the Players' Council about your origin, he said, forming a new thread. This was to your advantage. You wanted to use me. You wanted to use my sisters. Not really. You were totally useless at that point, and selling you to the council would have been more beneficial to me in the short term. I might have gotten a lot of things, but not on the long one. That's not certain. I would have had to work a bit harder, he said. And I never treated you like a slave, more like a comrade, giving you many rights that you wouldn't even dream of encountering otherwise. She bit her lip as the thread materialized. She knew that she was losing this, but she couldn't think of anything. Another thread materialized. I even told you my secret of being from another timeline. This is big, you know. That's a lie. Nope, it is the truth. Another thread materialized, making her gasp in shock. So it was true. After that, when you were on the verge of death, I secured that spark's activation method from Sebastian and gave it to you. I am the reason you became a lord. You simply couldn't use it on yourself. How do you know that? Well, even so, I could have tried it on other people, but knowing that you are about to die, I chose to give it to you to heal. For the second time, you owe me your life. Another thread materialized. After that, I saved your cousin Hannah and gave her a home. You scammed her and made her your slave. The thread failed to materialize, but it didn't matter. You gave the spark that should have been kept with you to the system to gain immense power. He was speculating on this. You never specified how I should use it, and you gave it to me. No threads materialized, but her statement confirmed Victor's guess. After all that, not only did you try to take over my power, you even dared to injure my pregnant wife. He continued after thinking about some random things. I was only scaring her to submit to me. I never intended to hurt anyone, she said, pouting a bit. That slut would never submit easily. Again, no threads materialized. She was telling the truth. This should be enough, I guess. He sighed. Let's get to the demands. For all of that, firstly, I demand that I have the spark back. Object not found. Eternal. Spark is already integrated in origin. Oops. Alpha smirked, feeling somewhat triumphant over him despite it being momentarily. He squinted his eyes. He guessed as much, but he was not pleased. I demand that you become my absolute slave for eternity, without the power to disobey or to withhold information or try to harm me or my interests. You can't even die without my permission. If I tell you to act like a dog, you will start barking. What? I would never submit, she hissed with desperation in her eyes. She knew what this meant. You don't have that luxury. He spat as the threads turned golden and began to wrap against her. She tried to struggle using all of her power, but it was to no avail. Perhaps if her power didn't come from the system, she would have a chance, but since she had already given up her spark, she was powerless, engulfed like a cocoon. Arbitration ended. The darkness immediately receded as Alpha fell to her knees with a red symbol appearing on her forehead. Her eyes were in shock and desperation, not knowing what to think. Hi. The moment she thought of using her power to struggle against him, she felt as if her body repelled against her, and the pain was so great that she collapsed to the ground with her hand around her head. You are really a masochist. Don't worry, I will take my time to educate you well this time, Victor said as he used a dagger to prick his finger, and then knelt beside her and pushed it directly into her mouth. Don't bite. Suck it all, he said. Become my blood slave, he demanded. She couldn't resist as her mouth sucked on its own like it was made to do this. Blood slave ritual detected. Blood slave's limit reached. Do you want to clear a slot to accept a new blood slave? Victor paused there. Right, he didn't level up after filling that last slot with Amira. Thinking for a moment, he quickly connected to Danielle after giving him the scare of his life. He selected his name and pressed. Now that he knew who the future young Light Lord was, he no longer needed this guy. Alpha screamed, all of a sudden startling him as he stepped back and watched as she held her head hard. Error. 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 System error. Lords can't be enslaved. Error. Arbitration command in effect. Command can't be cancelled. Error. System error. Lords can't be enslaved. Error. Arbitration command in effect. Command can't be cancelled. Error. System error. Lords can't be enslaved. Error. Arbitration command in effect. Command can't be cancelled. Error. Forcibly removing arbitration event. Error. Not enough authority. Victor opened his eyes wide as he watched Alpha roll on the ground and scream in pain. In his status window, repeated messages began to roll. His authority bug was creating all kinds of problems for the system. He was totally taken aback, but before he could think of anything, Alpha began to bleed all over as her skin began to disintegrate. Still, in mere moments, she began to heal again. Her screams grew louder and louder as it was clear how painful it was. Error. Eliminating error source. Error. Eternal aspects resisting elimination. Error. Deleting source. Error. System error. Lord's accounts can't be deleted before they die. Error. 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 It was as if the system was stuck in an endless loop. Just kill me, Alpha screamed as tears of blood filled her face. Victor frowned. He really didn't expect this to happen. Still, in a split second, he thought of a few possible solutions. Not wanting to go to the ones that might cause Aloha to die, he took out a huge pillar from his storage space and hit her with it. Nom. Everything stopped at once. Blood slave successfully registered. As he guessed, the pillar's effect stopped not only Alpha's use of the system skill but also the passive effects of her lord status. Alpha, who was drenched in her blood, laid on the ground gasping for air. Victor quickly took a healing pill and put it in her mouth before grabbing her and disappearing. Some people might have noticed that something wrong was happening here and he didn't want to risk it. He just left a storage ring on the ground just in case. That was close, Victor said as he appeared in the mansion again. As he left, he felt a few auras of people rushing into the mountain. He was not sure who those people were, but his instinct was telling him that he better not face them. Husband. Margaret, who was waiting for him in the mansion study, stood up, immediately eyeing Alpha, who was being held like a bag under his arm. She closed her eyes, playing dead with her face pale white. She was still in shock after her instant defeat and had no idea how to react. Is she alive? Yeah, something happened, but she should be fine in a while. I will give her to you after I finish with her, he said as he threw Alpha to the ground. She only wanted to scare you, so you don't need to use that against her. Just the normal kinky stuff would do, he said, noticing the brother she leaned on like it was some cane. So now you are on her side? Margaret asked, squinting her eyes. She lost her power, she would never survive it, he smirked. What? Margaret opened her eyes wide, looking at Alpha. Permanently or temporarily? It will be my call, he said, making Alpha, who was still playing dead, shiver a little. Then all I have to do is wait, she said as she threw herself at him, hugging him hard and pressing her face against his chest. I missed you, she said. I missed you too, he said, brushing her hair with his hand as he hugged her and kissed her lips. The kiss for 5 entire minutes with Margaret's hand began to move around his body, trying to undress him. Sadly for her, she couldn't even begin to understand how his otherworldly armor was put together. We will do it later, he whispered. No. I want it now, she demanded, pressing herself against him in a very lewd way as her dress let itself fall onto the ground on its own. You are pregnant. And? I am sure you will be careful. I have many things to do, he said, telling the truth. He needed to find a place to release Rosette and her group. Some delay would not hurt. I need to question her about a few things first, he said, glancing at Alpha. You can do that after we finish. You girls are really sex crazy, he sighed as he was powerlessly thrown onto the couch. He didn't dare to resist lest he hurt Margaret and the baby, as he was not yet fully in control of his power. Yeah. And whose fault was it making us this way? She said, smirking toward Alpha. Now are you going to undress? Margaret pulled a little at his shirt, but still she couldn't take it off by herself. Who made this thing like that? The answer would be two elf girls who didn't want anyone else to enjoy their master that easily. But he was not going to tell her that. Alpha, stop playing dead and come help. Margaret turned to Alpha, who didn't want to believe that Margaret was going to do it in front of her just like that. What? You heard me. It's time for you to learn to serve a man. Victor sighed, looking at Margaret. Really? You are the one who wants me to go easy on her. Margaret shrugged. And I can't take you all on my own. Good point. Alpha, obey her, Victor commanded. No. Hey. Alpha sat up as a pain ran through her, looking aggrieved at Victor, then at Margaret. Come help me undress him. I think it is about time you experience a real man. She spat, knowing well that she wouldn't be able to take Victor on, and watching Alpha love herself comply would be a good first course of revenge. I want to say something first, Alpha said as she bit her lip in desperation. Margaret squinted her eyes. We can do that later? She asked as Victor turned to face Alpha. No, this is important. Very important. It might change everything. Please let me say it, Alpha pleaded. Okay. What? Victor frowned. This world has a big secret, Alpha said. The old tales of how the old invasion ended are all a lie. It is not that the world became conscious and set the rules. It was the Spirit Empress who took control of the world node and locked down this world in order to slow the system infiltration, banishing all the other lords and making people forget what happened. The minute 10% of the world becomes players, the reckoning will happen. Why are you talking about bunnies? Do you want to play crazy now? Believe me, this would never... Margaret paused as she noticed something unnatural. Victor seemed to have lost focus for a second before focusing again. His eyes were ice cold for a second, but that quickly dissipated. Warning. System scale effect. Forbidden knowledge rebound curse activated. Warning. Not enough authority. Curse failed. An interesting curse? He said, looking at the notification, making Alpha, who turned paler than pale, gasp and begin to shiver. You even used a loophole in my commands to let it happen. Really smart, huh? Thankfully, though, the slave link, I felt your malicious intent and shielded Margaret from it, he said. Who would have thought that mere information could cause the system to apply such a crazy curse? From now on, I forbid you from speaking about this without my permission. She bit her lip, her eyes wandering around for some way to escape despite knowing that she had no way out. Margaret, use your brother. Margaret seemed to have realized something and turned to look at Alpha, who in turn was looking at Victor in shock. Courting death. No. Alpha bit her lip. She couldn't believe her last attempt failed just like that. You are a bad girl, Margaret said coldly as she picked her brother for the couch. Its metallic luster reflects light onto Aloha's eyes. She was not sure what Alpha just did, but from Victor's reaction, she knew this would have been really bad. She was just desperate. Victor sighed again. At least oil it a bit, he added for some strange reason, looking at the ominous thing. Defending her again? Margaret asked with a frown. Can't blame the sick. She seemed to have some kind of a phobia. Victor sighed. A part of him really wanted to punish Alpha hard, yet another part knew well what she went through, and now that she was humiliated to the extreme, he felt a little sorry for her. Oh, it's called eritophobia, Margaret corrected him. But it's not an excuse, and regardless, this might cure her, she said, slamming her brother into the ground, then dragging it behind her as she stepped toward Alpha. It might also ruin her for good. Do you mind? She turned to Victor. He was no longer there. Well, I guess I got my answer. No. Watching the girls play through the slave link, Victor stood on the mansion's roof with a frown. Just now he felt very angry and was about to really kill Alpha, but a part of him stopped at the last moment. It was as if his emotions switched gears and pressed the brakes right there. What was that feeling? He didn't like the change of emotions one bit. Felt like he had no control over it. Thinking about it, he always felt strange for Alpha, as if he never really got angry with her no matter how much she acted like a bitch. And whenever he planned to punish her, it always ended up with a spanking or something sexual. Sure, her looks when she activated her bloodline really suited his taste, but that was not that sexually depraved. Akashic record activate. Why did I change my mind about hurting Alpha? He could only use his skill. Analyzing. 100 order points required. He immediately pressed. Major Eternal Link Effect X. That was it? What is the Eternal Link Effect? He asked again. Analyzing. 8584-792-2002 order points required. Error. Insufficient points. Shit. Is it something Alpha cast on me? Analyzing. 100 order points required. He hesitated for a moment and pressed. No. He frowned. He only had one question left before the skill went on cooldown. Who is the major eternal link effect X caster? Analyzing. Error. Data do not exist. Oh. Why can't I see this major eternal link effect X when I appraise myself? Analyzing. 1000 order points required. He pressed yes. Effect is applied on threads weaved onto the world fate. Victor was taken aback, activating his destiny eyes to take a look. There, when he looked at Alpha from the hundreds of threads forming the link between them, he could finally see it, as if only knowing about it was all that was required. A strange golden line that connected them, and he gasped from his body. From the myriad fate threads, 22 similar golden threads spread in all directions. Most were very thin, but 4 of them were thick like Alpha's. 2 were even thicker, indicating that he knew those guys. And on top of that, he couldn't help but notice that 3 of those threads were in the same direction. What the hell was going on? Chapter 498. Courting Death. 5. Victor stood on the mansion's roof, lost in thought, as he watched Margaret order Alpha around to do all kinds of erotic things on her own under the pretense of, "I am pregnant, and yet you want me to do that for you?" Well, he would have believed her if she hadn't been smirking while using her phone to film everything. This was even more torturous for poor Alpha, who held her face above everything else. It made him feel somewhat sorry for her, but after thinking about how she tried to curse them earlier, he decided to let Margaret handle her for now. Who knows, he might get a new masochist Alpha after all of this. Now those chances are very slim. Well, once she was allowed to take that pink thing out of her mouth and be ready to talk, he had some things to inquire about, as she seemed to have gained some insights into some secrets. He also has many things to think about, most importantly those eternal threads, things that filled his vision. From inspecting them for the last 30 minutes and comparing them with his other connections, he found out that out of his wives, 5 had those threads. 5. Lily, Manamina, Monica, and Alex, who was his only blood slave who had any. There were others, but since he didn't have blood slaves or marriage threads with them to act as a reference, he couldn't really tell who was who. Now that he thought about it, all of those girls had very unique encounters with him. Was it the effect of his class, or had some other origin? Was he the cause of it, or was it someone else? The Akashic record skill of not finding its caster made him suspect that it might have something to do with his time travel. He wondered if he should consult Lily about that or keep it a secret. Well, for some reason she was not responding to his calls. It might have something to do with the cleansing ritual, and this made him very worried, but since she reassured him that everything would be fine before, he decided to give her a few days before forcing his way into the Von Krone's nest castle. "Did she trouble you?" someone suddenly asked from behind him. It was Elise, who found his location through the mansion's array and hurried here. "Ah, who?" he asked, turning his head to look at her. "Alpha." "Oh, not really. I had already dealt with people far stronger than her in the other world. He paused as he felt her hands wrap around his waist and her head digging into his back. "It must have been tough on you. You grew strong," she whispered as she hugged him hard from the back. He sighed, reading between the lines. "Sorry for leaving you on your own. I missed you. Everyone did. I missed you guys too, but some things needed to be done." He sighed. He was really too busy lately. It was not his fault that things kept getting messy, but he really needed a vacation. "I know," she pouted. "Are you going to go away again?" she asked. "After finishing something tonight, I plan to stay in the mansion for a week or so until the tournament. Then I will have to leave again," he told the truth. After learning all those things about lords, he decided to collect as many skeleton keys as possible in the tournament, because he was pretty sure that the Jade Dungeon might hold many secrets to this world, and he needed to send a team there in order to maximize his benefits. "Can I ask for something? No matter what you want, I will get it for you, even if I need to go against the entire world," he said as held her hands and turned around to look at her blushing face. "No need for boasting." She pouted a little as her face turned red. I just want to go out with you. Just the 2 of us." She bit her lip. "After you leave this time, it might take some time for us to meet, and I didn't get to." Her fumbling stopped as she felt his lips press against hers. She wasn't resistant. Their kiss lasted 5 full minutes. "You have been learning from Margaret, I see," he said after their lips parted as he brushed her hair and looked at her out-of-breath expression. "One can't get this good from just practicing with a pillow." She bit her lips and looked away with a heavy blush. If he wasn't holding her hands, she wanted to cover her face with them and drill into some hole. "What a bully," she whispered. "You were the one asking for it. Don't think I couldn't see through your plot, sending all the little maids away, commanding them to never look up before climbing her on your own." She looked away, blushing even heavier. "That was the only way I could have some private time with you," she mumbled. He chuckled. "Let's go on a date then. It will be your birthday in a few days, right?" he asked softly. He really didn't get to spend a lot of time with Elise after their wedding due to her situation. He should really make it up to her. "Do you have something in mind?" She shook her head, feeling a little happy. He could easily remember her birthday thanks to his eidetic memory skill, but the fact that he bothered to check about it in the first place mattered. Then I will arrange for something special, he said with a smile. He needed to make sure not to reveal that he was back, but that was easy. I understand. She bit her lip as she blushed. Now take care of the house for me. And make sure Alpha doesn't end up getting killed. Also tell Margaret not to forcibly stuff that thing in Alpha's mouth. I need to question her about a few things later, he said as he turned to leave. I am not going to enter that room, Elise, who was blushing heavily, said. Tell Hilda to go then. Margaret had just finished with the candles and took out the barbed whip, so you better hurry, he said before jumping off the roof and disappearing into the night. Ah, Hilda might not help her though, she said, but no one responded. After speaking with Elise, Victor quickly flew up, heading quickly toward the road where he sat on top of a bus for 30 minutes before reaching the train station where he sat on top of a bullet train leaving the city. Thanks to his bloodline, the air pressure no longer annoyed him as he traveled, finally reaching his destination 3 hours later. It was in a nearby city that he knew quite well since he spent a few months here in his past life. There he headed to a secluded forest clearing, and after pasting some disguised talisman around, he used his skills to send a few fireballs around before extinguishing them, making it look like a meteor impact site. Making sure everything looked perfect and no one was spying on him, he took out the cauldron. It was time to get the people sleeping inside out. He hesitated. Would the world react violently to any of them? He was mainly worried about 3 Amira and Meryl. There were the elves too. Thinking about it for a moment, he decided to take Amira out first. Since she was his blood slave, he would be able to protect her if anything were to go wrong. Taking a deep breath, he let the little girl who was still awake inside out. Nothing happened. The moment her feet touched the ground, she began to look around before looking toward Victor. Did we arrive? She asked him as she finally noticed the single yellow moon in the sky. Yes. He sighed in relief. Now stand aside as I try to send Aerith out, he said. With Aerith's marriage arrangement with him, things should be fine, right? Oh, she paused. Just when he was going to try to send Aerith out, Amira let out a loud scream and fell to the ground. Shit! Victor quickly hurried to send her back into the cauldron, but he couldn't. It was as if he couldn't find her body at all. It was as if the little girl didn't even exist. He quickly hurried to her side, but he wasn't moving. Not fast anyway. It was as if he were in the midst of a quagmire or something. The same feeling when he fought the other lords. He immediately activated his bloodline, allowing him to move a little quicker. 2 inches per minute instead of 1. Fuck. What was going on? Damn it, he had just returned and things were turning bizarre. Was someone attacking him? Error. 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 The system was throwing all kinds of errors in his notification panel as he made his way toward Amira, who lay on the ground frozen with her eyes looking towards something far away beyond the horizon. The moment he tried to touch her, his hand passed right through her. It was as if she were a ghost. No, a better way to describe her, as if she was glitching or something, as her body kept disappearing and reappearing unnaturally. What the? Feeling something, he looked up. 10 feet away from him stood a little girl. Amira? She sure resembled her, but looked a few years older, and she was dressed in a black goth dress. She was glitching too and seemed to be in a lot of pain as she totally ignored him and looked toward Amira. Error. Error. Duplicate ID found. If you encounter this story on Amazon, note that it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. Merging. Victor frowned as the notification window suddenly showed sweating differently, but before he could get it. Boom. A strong force detonated right beside him, throwing him away from Amira and toward the forest, with him barely being able to stabilize himself and looking up. He saw it. The 2 Emiras turned into a mess of threads that exploded into a vortex, wrapping around each other, then merging again to form only one little girl, one Amira. She paused there for a moment as if asserting what happened to her before turning to face Victor, who hurried to his legs, not knowing what the fuck was going on. The only thing he was certain about was that escaping would be troublesome. Not impossible. Just very troublesome. Amira G. Literista. Level 722,415. Class Death Lord U. Subclass Corpse Eater E. Affinity Death. Affinity rank Line 100%. Status Authority 89,101. Health 100%. Stamina 100%. Mana 100%. Strength 2997211. Agility 3318111. Intelligence 3942110. Luck 49. Charm 73. Order points 9811. Abnormal status none. Skills error retrieving data. Lord database field connection is severed. Fate error retrieving data. Lord field unavailable. Bloodline White Elf 100%. Equipment The robes of fallen demon SSS. Deathwish dagger SSS. Immortal storage ring SSS. Disguise pendant SS. The Death Lord? The one who gave Rain his blessing. Why? What? How? He had a million questions, but as every wise man must do when facing the unknown, he had one choice. To escape. Thankfully, the moment the two Emiras merged, the pressure affecting him disappeared, so he quickly turned and began to run. 2 steps. That was all he could do before his legs gave up and let him fall to the ground. Eh! He stumbled face down before turning to look with horror, as not only his legs but his entire body below the neck no longer responded to him. Amira, who was floating in midair and closing her eyes as if to rearrange her thoughts, finally opened them and looked at him. Vicky? No, Victor von Weiss. She frowned as she spoke, as if she was having difficulty choosing her words. It is a pleasure to finally meet you. I bet you have a lot of questions, she said, looking at him. What did you do to me? He asked nervously as he began to formulate a plan and consider his options to escape, but he needed to figure a few things out before that. Oh, don't worry, I just ordered your body to die temporarily. In other words, to go to sleep. From the memory of my other self, I know how resourceful you can be, so I had to, she said. Ah, well, really? A blood slave? She interrupted him and asked as she felt him try to subdue her, though their blood connection. Blood slave died. Connection severed. That should do, she said before spitting a blob of black rotten blood. You lords are really hard to control, he said nervously. His first attempt failed spectacularly. Well, he never expected it to work in the first place. It's a perk of the job, she said. Her personality and way of speech were identical to the Amira he knew, just a little bit more mature. If any other person had dared to do that to me, though he would have died a very ugly death. Consider it your honor that I let you live, she said arrogantly, the character switching from that of a little girl to that of a queen in a second. So you are. She was. What does your appraisal skill tell you? He swallowed. Death Lord. Amira G. Litarista. So you can see even that, she pondered. Then, who was she? What are you? He repeated his question. The one with you was the real me, Amira said after thinking for a moment. But the one here was also the real me, she added, tilting her head. He frowned. Was she messing with him? Not likely. In his mind, he considered many possibilities. Was she her clone or something? Her avatar? Intriguing, huh? She smiled as if was enjoying toying with him. All you need to know is that for now I have all her memories and I have hers. We are one and the same. Is that all you are going to tell me? Maybe, she said with a smirk. And what if I need more info? I want something in return, she said as she eyed him from head to toe. Sorry, I already lost my virginity. He smirked, testing how she would respond. She sighed, shaking her head. You really like courting death. You are the Death Lord, so. He. Amira began to chuckle as if she didn't think of that. You are the 613th person to say that to me, she said as her face turned cold in a second. Did they survive? He swallowed. Her character was really moody. Nope. She smiled sweetly like a little girl who just told her friend how many puppies she killed with a hammer. He quickly considered his options, wondering if his karmatic arbitration would work on her. Since she was Amira, he did save her life, so this should work. Using his fate eyes, he could see many threads connecting him to her, confirming his guess. Would the same thing he did to Alpha work on her? No. They already made her use the pillar to check if she was a demon back in Israel, so that may not be an option. Enough with your stupid jokes, she said. I need you to open that gate for me. I need to go to Ismailia and collect a few debts. That Zendo? He asked as he weighed his options. Her face turned ugly immediately. Yes, she hissed as he could feel the desire for murder in her voice. Poor Zendo. Well, that guy is a bastard. Tell me your story first, then I will decide, he said after thinking for a moment. Since she needed him to open the gate for her, she wouldn't easily kill him, so he could relax for now. Decide. She pondered. Fine. She set her body, descended onto the floor, and walked toward him. He was taken aback. He didn't expect her to comply this fast. Bam! She smacked his head as if reading his mind. Look, I owe you a bit, and since half of me considers you a friend, I will consider you as such, she said, looking away while puffing her cheeks like a little girl. And you will have no choice later. But be warned though, if you dare to scam me, your end will be very ugly, she spat. Can you let me move through? This pose is very uncomfortable, he said. He was lying on the ground on his stomach, after all, lifting his head up with difficulty like some worm. No, said, taking a seat on his back. It seems like I was mistaken thinking that you are a pure little girl. You must have been planning to ride me for a while now. Bam! She smacked his head again. Think of it as you will, she said, blushing a little as she remembered the thought she had when she was with Victor. Yet, they were not 100% pure. So, she shook her head to throw away some of the crazy thoughts she was having. You are. I am Amira, but from the future, about 100 years in the future, she said after some thinking. Time travel. He opened his eyes wide. Didn't time travel only work on the soul? How did she transfer her body? How many people did time travel before he did it? You don't sound surprised? Ah, considering how bizarre this world is, nothing surprises me anymore, he said. Good point, she nodded. So you are. If you dare to say it, I will really be angry. She pinched him. He swallowed the words. Legal lowly. In that timeline, you didn't come to Ismaralia and take me out of that place. The Death Gorge. I lived there for about 60 years, she said, lamenting on her past. It was not until I found the death spark there, and managed to integrate with it, that I managed to reawaken my memories and leave as the Death Lord. Oh, at that point in time Ismaralia was no longer a livable world, she pondered. What I learned from the very few survivors I managed to find hiding was that after the Storm Lord died, the Filthy Sun Lord launched a campaign to cleanse the world of all non-elves, wanting to create a pure elven world. And after he succeeded, he ended up dying of a demonic curse, bringing his entire race with him, she said, summarizing things up. That Ziffer was really through in his plan. And, at that time, the demons were everywhere, fighting among themselves over what was left and spreading death and decay. Thanks to them, I managed to create a new death spark. He swallowed. You killed them all? He asked, knowing a few things about sparks. Most of them. A few of them managed to run away, but by following them I managed to find a gate leading out of that world, and it led to this one, she said. This world was not peaceful either. Since it was of a higher quality than Ismaralia, not only the demons but all kinds of invaders seemed to have set their eyes on it. Thankfully it was united under one leadership, so it managed to fend those off for a long time, she sighed. The Spirit Empress. She hissed. Warning. System scale effect. Forbidden knowledge rebound curse activated. Warning. Not enough authority. Curse failed. Holy shit. So they had a curse, Amira said in surprise. Vicky, are you okay? She asked, patting him on the back with some worry in her voice. I should be fine, I heard that name before but have no real info about it, he said, relaxing a bit. He could feel it now in her voice. She was the same little girl he knew, just 10 times more arrogant. Oh, she sighed in relief. Good. Anyway, when I got back here the battle was going fierce with all kinds of things happening. I chose to join one of the forces in order to gain a better understanding of the situation, and I bet you were scammed. Oh, he screamed as she lapped his head. Look, I wasn't experienced as I didn't have to deal with liars like the ones from the Heavenly Empire. Those bastards will pay for it, she spat angrily. And, he asked. It was only a month later that the world ended, she sighed. I was trapped in a fight with that bastard Twilight demon when everything began to vanish. The demon seemed to have been aware of what was happening and used a strange artifact to resist it, but thanks to a new aspect that I realized at that moment, I managed to kill him and take his place using the artifact. The next thing I knew was that my body was destroyed and my soul, on the verge of shattering, reappeared at that same spot 1,000 years in the past. 1,000 years? He frowned. This was important. Wasn't that when the stories about the demonic invasions began with the history of his family? I was lost for a while, barely surviving. If it were not for my sparks managing to travel with me, I would have been long dead, she said. He could feel the dread in her voice. Thankfully, as time went by, I slowly managed to repair my sparks and create a new body for myself. Too bad that during all of this, I seem to have grabbed that bitch's attention. The Spirit Empress? Warning. System scale effect. Forbidden knowledge rebound curse activated. Warning. Not enough authority. Curse failed. You don't need to say her name. Just say the bitch, and everyone who knew her would understand. Amira spat. Victor nodded, finally realizing why the lords had kept using that name on their conversation. Anyways, she turned out to be the one behind the time travel, she continued. You got that info when she scammed you to tell her that you were part of it too, didn't she? Shut up, she spat. It was she who made it clear when she told me that I shouldn't exist in that time frame. Oh, anyway, she captured me, and after getting all the info she needed, she extracted one of my sparks. She was doing some kind of experiment, but I am not sure about it. Amira spat angrily. After that, she locked me up in a prison inside a pocket dimension. Just like the one you use. She sighed. I don't know what happened after, but demons suddenly entered that dimension, making it their stronghold. I couldn't do anything, and it was not until about 10 years ago that I had a chance to escape into this completely changed world. That guy Rain? He asked, remembering his status that said Death Lord Blessing in it. So you met him? She said in surprise. Yeah. Is he your pet boy or something? You really have a death wish. She paused. Wait, that girl Ray. Who is Ray? Oh, you Sage. He was smacked again. So it was you. No wonder, she said, sighing in relief. When I met that shard slave, I thought it was the bitch who was controlling her. I was almost scared shitless. What do you mean? I don't understand, he said as he wondered if Amira has some kind of trauma regarding the SP. That bitch. No need to deny it. I can tell that you are the one with all that authority, or else you would have been long cursed dead by mentioning the bitch's name, she said. The only people who can dodge that are lords, and you are clearly not one. He couldn't argue against that. Still, he made a mental note that in the future he should go crazy if the Spirit Empress's name got mentioned. Wait, could this be used as a weapon? Interesting. Although it might be a little dangerous, if overused attracting unwanted attention, it might be handy. Look, I will not ask for your secrets, she said. Everyone has their chances. But I must warn you, having a lot of authority points must be kept a secret until you can fend for yourself. Some people can extract those. In the other timeline I have seen it happen. The only way to resist them is to be more powerful than them, or to have way more authority, and believe me, no matter how much you have, those people who had been collecting authority points throughout the universe would definitely have way more. Noted. Do you perhaps know why those people need that much authority? He quickly shifted the subject. In the system, everything needs authority. You just experienced it, resisting curses and such. And beside it, some skills. You don't really know, don't you? Look, I told you. I didn't really get the time to learn a lot. Since the moment I got out, I have been busy killing demons, searching for a way back to Ismeralia, and trying to figure out what happened to the Spirit Empress. Warning. System scale effect. Forbidden knowledge rebound curse activated. Warning. Not enough authority. Curse failed. This is getting annoying, he sighed. Found anything about her? No, it is as if she completely didn't even exist. Someone is doing this on purpose, I bet. It may. She paused, then turned to the side and pointed with her finger. Pam. 7 men dressed in black fell to the ground completely dead. Victor swallowed. This girl was really scary. Saying that name must have attracted a few insects. We'd better find another place to talk, she said, grabbing Victor from his own belt and lifting him up in a very humiliating way. Careful, he said as the world shifted, and in the next moment they were standing on a tall building a few miles away. If you want access to fast updates or the full novel in high-quality audio, contact me now and buy. I offer over 300 complete audiobooks from Pocket FM, Webnovel, Audible, and more. No locked episodes, no subscriptions, just one-time payment via PayPal or Ko-fi. Message me directly on Telegram or WhatsApp, or check out the full list of available novels on Discord. Start listening to your next favorite audiobook today.